It was just another Tuesday night, or so I thought. I was curled up on my ancient, comfy couch, the kind that's seen more movie marathons than a cinema. Rain was drumming a steady, soothing rhythm against the window pane, the perfect soundtrack for getting lost in a good book. The world outside was a watercolor painting of blurry streetlights and slick, dark streets. Inside, my lamp cast a warm, golden circle of light, making my little living room feel like the safest place on earth. I was completely engrossed, the words on the page pulling me into another world, far away from the damp chill of an autumn evening. Suddenly, with a soft asterisk, pop asterisk, and a flicker, the lamp went out, plunged into absolute darkness. I sat bolt upright, my heart giving a startled little jump. A power outage. Annoying, but not exactly unheard of, especially with a storm like this raging outside. I remember sighing, feeling around on the coffee table for my phone. The book was forgotten. The fictional world it held instantly shattered by the very real inconvenience of a blackout. I figured I'd just use my phone's flashlight to find some candles and wait it out. It was almost kinda cozy. The sound of the rain seemed louder now, more intense. Without the hum of the refrigerator and the other subtle noises of a powered house. I fumbled for a moment, my fingers brushing against a cold mug and a stack of mail before they finally closed around the familiar, smooth case of my phone. I swiped the screen on, its sudden brightness making me squint. As my eyes adjusted, I scanned the room. The familiar shapes of my furniture were just bulky shadows against the faint, gray light coming from the window. Everything was still, everything was quiet, except for the storm. I took a deep breath, about to stand up and begin my candle hunt. And that's when I heard it. It was quiet, so quiet that at first, I thought I'd imagined it may be a trick of the wind howling around the corners of the building. But no, there it was again. A whisper. It was faint, raspy, and seemed to come from right behind me, right over my shoulder. It was a single word, my name, drawn out and chillingly clear, even over the sound of the rain. Time just stopped. Every muscle in my body went rigid. The phone in my hand felt impossibly heavy. Who was in my apartment? I live alone. The doors were locked. I was sure of it. I always checked them. My mind raced, trying to find a logical explanation. Was it the wind? A neighbor? The TV next door? But the sound had been too close, too personal. It wasn't coming from outside or through the walls. It was in the room with me. I didn't dare to turn around. I was frozen in place, my own breathing roaring in my ears. The silence that followed was somehow worse than the whisper itself. It was a heavy, expectant silence, filled with a terrifying, unseen presence. My cozy little apartment had transformed into a cage, and I was trapped inside with something. I forced myself to move, my limbs stiff and uncooperative. I slowly, so slowly, turned my head, sweeping the beam of my phone's flashlight across the empty space behind the couch. Nothing. Just the wall. A framed poster. The floor. My heart was a frantic drum against my ribs. I scrambled off the couch, backing away until my back hit the opposite wall. Phone held out in front of me like a shield. I panned the light across the entire living room, into the small kitchenette, down the short hallway toward my bedroom and bathroom. Empty. All of it. Was I going crazy? Was the stress of the week finally getting to me? I tried to laugh it off, a shaky, pathetic sound that died in my throat. It was just the storm playing tricks on me. That had to be it. I decided to make my way to the kitchen to find those candles, needing a task, something to focus on other than the icy fear coiling in my stomach. Each step was deliberate, my phone's light cutting a nervous path in front of me. I found the candles in a drawer, along with a book of matches. My hands were shaking so badly it took me 3 tries to strike a match. The small flame flickered to life, casting long, dancing shadows that seemed to writhe and twist in the corners of the room. I lit 2 candles, placing them on the kitchen counter. The warm, wavering light was a small comfort, but it didn't chase away the feeling of being watched. I just couldn't shake it. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, just listening. The rain had softened to a gentle patter. The city outside was quiet, and in that quiet, I heard it again. This time, it was different. It wasn't a whisper. It was a soft, scratching sound. It was coming from the hallway. From my bedroom door. My blood ran cold. The door was closed. I always leave it slightly ajar, but I was certain I hadn't closed it completely. The scratching was faint, but persistent. Asterisk, scrape, scrape, scrape. Asterisk like fingernails dragging slowly down the wood. My breath hitched. This was not the wind. This was not my imagination. There was someone or something in my bedroom. Every horror movie trope I'd ever scoffed at came rushing back to me. Don't go investigate the noise. Get out of the house, Gulf 4. Help. But my legs wouldn't move. My keys were on a hook by the front door, on the other side of the hallway entrance. To get to them, I'd have to walk right past the source of that terrifying sound. I couldn't do it. I was trapped. The scratching stopped. The silence that fell was thick with dread. I stood motionless, my ears straining, trying to catch any hint of movement, and then a new sound. A slow, creaking groan. It was the unmistakable sound of my bedroom door swinging open. I didn't see it happen. My back was to the hallway, but I heard it as clearly as I had heard my own name. I held my breath, waiting. What was going to happen? Was something going to step out into the hallway? Was I about to see what had been whispering to me? I squeezed my eyes shut. A pathetic, childish reaction, as if not seeing it would make it not real. But the silence just stretched on. After a minute that felt like a lifetime, I forced my eyes open. I had to know. I had to see. Taking another shaky breath, I turned, raising my phone again. The beam of light sliced through the darkness, landing on the hallway. The bedroom door was wide open, swinging ever so slightly, revealing a black, gaping maw. Nothing came out. There was just darkness, but the feeling of being watched was stronger than ever, pouring out of that open doorway like a physical force. My safe little home had become a house of horrors, and the monster was hiding in my own bedroom. And that's when the lights flickered back on. The refrigerator hummed to life. The digital clock on the oven blinked 12 o'clock, and my lamp on the end table flooded the room with its warm, familiar glow. Everything was instantly, jarringly normal. The shadows vanished. The apartment was just an apartment again. I stood there, blinking in the sudden brightness, heart still trying to hammer its way out of my chest. The bedroom door was wide open. The scratching, the whisper. Had it all been a dream? A hallucination brought on by the sudden blackout. Slowly, cautiously, I walked down the hall and peeked into my bedroom. Everything was exactly as I'd left it. The bed was made. Clothes were in the hamper. A book was on my nightstand. There was no one there. There was no sign that anyone had ever been there. I checked the windows locked. I checked the closet. Primera dos ya. Ese. Alone. I let out a long, shuddering breath that was half sob, half laugh. It was nothing. It was all in my head. I walked back into the living room, feeling foolish, and blew out the candles. As the last wisp of smoke curled into the air, my eyes fell upon the wall behind my couch, the spot where I had heard the whisper. And I saw it, scratched faintly into the paint. So faint you could only see it if the light hit it just right. Were two words that weren't there an hour ago. 2 words that made the fear come rushing back, colder and more absolute than before. They said, "Found you. I haven't slept in my own bed since. I don't think I ever will again." Thanks for listening to my story. If you have any similar experiences, share them in the comments below. Stay safe out there, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.